Hello and welcome to jasonnewland.com. My name's Jason Newland. Please only listen when you can safely close your eyes. I'm here with little Vinny. He's laying by my side. And I'm sitting on my sofa, but it's basically, it's a reclining sofa, but there's two parts that recline. I'm in one part that reclines, and he's next to me. So I'll give you, this is going to be Monday's boring objects, but I'll give you a nice yawn. I'll give you a little bit of an update on Uncle Sausages, my neighbour. Just to let you know, I'm not going to talk about it for any length of time, but I'll just give you a basic update. So I'm still visiting him in hospital. He is now awaiting to find out if he's able to come home with some kind of care plan, or whether he needs to go into a nursing home. So it's gonna we're gonna see. I'm gonna start clearing up his flat, like tidying up and cleaning it, making it a bit more ready if he does get the opportunity to return. And yeah, that's it really. I went there today, spoke to the palliative nurse or palliative care nurse, spoke to the, what do they call them? Therapist. Not universal, not unisex. Not umbilical. I'm trying to think what the name is. But basically what they do is they check him, see what he's capable of physically, and to get a lay of the land, really, I suppose. So hopefully he's had those meetings today. I spoke to them this morning, but they were going to come back and see him later on in the day, and I left just before 1 o'clock. So I'll give him a call tomorrow, find out how he's getting on. It's not always easy to actually hear what he's saying, because he wants to be private. So when he's talking to me about, I guess, serious things, he whispers and I can't hear him. Even in the hospital, I have to get really close to him because he talks so quietly. So yeah, just wait and see. Tomorrow, oh God, blimey, I will stop yawning in a minute, don't worry. Tomorrow I'll do a little bit on his flat. I want to organise some of his stuff. He's got lots of diaries from years ago, so I'm going to put them into one drawer. Important stuff, put all his letters into another place, because there's things like dotted all around the place, and might have to get rid of his chair and the settee. He needs a new chair, he needs a new bed. He hasn't slept in his bed for years, I don't think, because I think it's broken. But he's been sleeping in his chair, which is also really, really just, it needs to be removed. He also needs a fridge because he hasn't got a fridge. So there's a few little bits I need to try and organise for him. But I'll do it with him. I'm not just going to do it, myself. I'm going to just confirm that that's what he wants as I go along. So I need to try and find him a fridge freezer, a cheap one, to put in his kitchen. And then once I've kind of tidied up, I'll then look at maybe trying to find him a chair, some kind of chair that will be comfortable for him. It's going to be a bit weird though, because I don't know what he's going to find comfortable. Because not all chairs. It's nice to sit in a chair, isn't it, first, before buying it, or and it won't be a new chair, or it'll either be a new chair which is cheap, like from Amazon or something. But then the problem with that is getting it into the flat. Although the one he's got now, I'm not sure how he got it in because it's quite a big thing. So what I'll do is perhaps measure that chair and try and get one the same kind of size, perhaps from a second-hand shop or something. And it's not gonna. It's weird to say this, but it's not going to be needed for long. This is weird to say that out loud, but I'll ask him what he wants to do. He might want to buy a brand new chair, and I would. Just what I'm thinking of doing is, if he does come out, moving my TV into his flat, so he has a big TV to watch, because he loves watching sport, and I'll get all the sports packages that he wants, that he needs, so that he can pretty much watch whatever he wants. And he can still have his other TV there as well, which is quite small, so he can watch a bit like Grandad from Only Fools and Horses, like have more than one TV at the same time. So that might be something that he'd like. But I am thinking of doing that, just moving my TV temporarily into his flat, so he can watch the big TV. Get him a new chair or a second-hand chair. Get him a new bed. Outside of that, it also depends what kind of bed he's going to need, because at some point they're going to need to have equipment in there, hoists, and he might have to have a special bed, so I don't know at this point. It's a guessing game at this point, really. But if he does come home rather than into a care home, then I'm going to do everything I can to make it as comfortable and enjoyable, I suppose, as possible, so that he can have the best time. If that makes any sense, I don't know. It kind of makes sense when I say it out loud, but at the same time, it also seems like a ridiculous thing to say. Just considering the circumstances, I mean. But anyway, I'll do whatever I can to help. He did buy me. He bought me a sausage roll and a drink today. We went into Costa's, and he brought his card down with him, and he sort of treated me, and he really felt good about it. He seemed to really be happy about that. And he bought me some chocolates, a couple of crunchy bars in WH Smith, and he got himself a couple of chocolate bars, and he seemed in really good spirits today, really quite more energetic. And another thing is, I said to him, well, you're going to want to, if you want to come home, then we've got to stop taking the lift. We'll have to start using the stairs now, because you need to prove to yourself, as well as the people here really, but you definitely need to prove to yourself that you can do the stairs. So we did walk up and down the stairs. It's only two little sets of stairs. I mean, there's more stairs here than there is in each little set, so there's probably 1.5 the amount of steps. So I'd say maybe 50% more steps than here. So it's not a lot. There's not a lot of steps here either. And he was cool and he did it fine. He's a little bit, I think he's a bit unsteady on his feet anyway, just generally with age. He's a little bit more careful than he used to be. But at the same time, I think because he's been off his feet pretty much nearly solidly for over 2 weeks, he hasn't had that circulation, that blood circulation in his legs that we all kind of get used to, I suppose, when we're walking around a bit. And and plus he's on medication now, so it's just okay. I don't know how that's going to affect him, but it was weird. The weird thing about it, he was pulling me out the way of people that were walking through. So he was in a bit of a bossy mood today. It was funny. So yeah, that was quite good. I just figured though, if you want to come home, you're going to have to deal with the stairs. So we might as well do the stairs now. So when I see him, next time I see him, we'll do the stairs again, if he's able to. I mean, I'm not forcing him. You can't force him to do anything. He only does what he wants to do. But it just made sense, really, to test it out for him. And I was there with him anyway, so he wasn't going to fall. And there's a banister all the way around. So yeah, he had something for dinner today that was awful. It was really bad. It was just mush with it was supposed to be chicken and potatoes with gravy, and all you could see, this is white stuff with gravy. And he'd had a hot sausage roll about an hour earlier, and he phoned me up later on and said, I'm so thankful we had that sausage roll, because that dinner was awful. And even the lady that delivered the sausage roll, delivered the meal, she brought the tray in, put it on to the bedside table thing, that they have. And she said to Uncle Sausages, she said, right, I don't know what you're going to think about this. Really? And she pulled the lid off, because it got like a little metal lid thing, pulled that off. The kind of things you see in like expensive restaurants. You pull it off, and she was almost laughing at the plate of the contents, because she knew it was just wrong. And she said, well, I'm allowed to be honest. It's like, wow. It was really wasn't good. I mean, I don't know what it tastes like, because I didn't eat it. It might have been fine. But it didn't look great. But then, really, he's eating better than I am. He's eating 4 times a day, and they do have the calorie intake and the vitamins. They have it all very, very well balanced meals. As I say, I don't know what they taste like. It's been a long time since I had hospital food. I was 12 the last time. But yeah, I'd probably end up putting weight on. If I was eating 4 times a day cooked food, well, I suppose breakfast is like cereal, but other than that, if it's cooked, and I was just sitting around or in bed, I'd probably put weight on. Yeah, probably. Which in some situations is possibly needed. With some people, perhaps putting a bit of weight on is a good thing, but it wouldn't be a good thing for me. I don't need extra weight. Of all the things I need, that's not at the top of the list right now. And what else? Yeah, so that's it really. I'm just waiting to see what happens, to find out what's happening with him. So at the moment, Uncle Sausages is still in hospital. I realise this is going to sound weird. Well, most things I say probably sound weird, but I kind of realise what it is about him that kind of grabs me a little bit emotionally. And I noticed this before, long before he was unwell, but I kind of ignored it. But what it is, he's got the same smile as my nan. His eyes have the same smiley eyes as my nan had. It's a weird thing. I know they say smiling, Irish eyes, smiling and that, but technically he's Scottish. But he's got the same kind of eyes as my nan. It's weird, just as my nan had. So maybe that's what it is. I kind of just almost, he looks at me the way my nan used to look at me. You know, that look was sort of like, please leave me alone. Who are you? How did you get into my house? You know, that look. Stop eating all my biscuits. Right, so that's an update on there. I did a Q&A Friday. I don't know if you realise, if you've listened to it or not. It was about 4.5 hours long. The longest recording I've ever done, I think. As in, it was the whole episode was, I think, 4 hours and 19 minutes. Nothing else added, just me doing the Q&A Friday. It's just a long recording. Very much so. This will not be that. This will be a standard length recording. Oh, I think I just did some laundry. Yesterday I did some laundry, all my t-shirts and my shirts, and because I just kind of ran out, because I didn't go in on Sunday, so I did them on Sunday. So I did my laundry, and I've done my tracksuit bottoms because I've got 7 pairs, and underwear. I've done that now, so it's, from the sounds of it, it's done. But it's weird because I'm sure I only put it on about an hour ago. It normally takes longer than an hour to finish. Oh, but maybe not. Maybe it was longer. Maybe, yeah. Because I think it's 8 o'clock now. And I put it on about 6:15. So I guess that would make sense. It's finished now. So I'll hang them up when I've done this. And that'll pretty much be all the laundry done now. And I told Uncle Sausages that I was gonna start washing some of his stuff, because he's got some clothes that have been in the closet for I don't know how long. So what I'll do is I'll sort through it and maybe wash it and just so it's there. So when he comes back, he can just choose to, wear what he wants, and it'll all be clean. So that's another thing I'll do. I'll probably do that last though. I'll leave that to the last thing to do. Yeah. He's got a brand new kitchen. No, he's got a brand new bathroom that he hasn't even seen yet. I mean, he saw part of it because they were in the middle of doing it. I think they just finished the first week. Yeah, the first week of doing the bathroom, because they started on Tuesday, and the Friday's when he went into hospital, and then they came back the next week doing stuff, and they might have, so they finished it last week. He didn't get to see the finished result, and he had a brand new kitchen done about 3 months ago, and he's got new windows coming as well in the next few months. So it's need to get rid of that wallpaper. I'm not going to, but the wallpaper's, I think the wallpaper was there before he moved in, because I think back in them days they didn't, because when I moved in here everything was bare. There was nothing in the walls. It was just white walls, no carpet, no furniture, which I think is standard anyway, but I think when he moved in there was wallpaper already there, and they just left the wallpaper as it was, and he's lived there for 30 years. I'm just thinking, imagine if that's me in 25 years, and I got a neighbour coming into my flat looking through my stuff. I mean, I'm not looking through his stuff, but I had to look for something because he asked me to look for something. But I'm only in there because he asked me. I don't go into people's homes without them actually wanting me to do it. And I told him, anytime I goes in there. Anytime I go in there, I tell him and why. And he wanted me to look for some money because he had £40 in cash he wanted me to get for him. And it was in I don't know where it was. I did find it in the end. But I can hear the washing machine. It's doing the old tumble bit, the like that. Is that the draining the water out? Something like that. Oh, I don't know. Something similar. Raining today it was. Raining. Proper raining. So I got a taxi there because it was raining. I just didn't want to get wet. But I got 2 buses back. So I got the buses back because I thought, no, this is just getting... This is weird, okay? This is... I just interrupted myself then. The cost of a taxi to the hospital from where I live and back again, so each journey, either there or the journey back, is around £17. At the weekend it was more. So Saturday, £17.60, and the other person wanted £18.40 or something. So it varies on a Saturday. But I've just been giving them £20, with a tip, £20. And I've done that with every single taxi driver up till today. But today's taxi driver didn't want it. He wouldn't take it, because I was paying on a card, and he said, no, it's £17, and he wouldn't take a tip. He wasn't he was like really friendly taxi driver, but he said he didn't want a tip. He didn't. It's like, wow, okay, that was surprising. Because I've just automatically just said, just take £20, because just, I don't know, it just seems the right thing to do. I'm not even going to work out how much. Oh, Christine, just a big thank you to Christine for your PayPal gift. Thank you very much. I did send a message to you. Thank you. Oh, you know, as we were getting a taxi towards the hospital, went round the corner from where I live, and the taxi slowed down, and this pigeon was in the middle of the road, just standing there looking at us. Had a right attitude, honestly. Just like walked very slowly to the curb. Nothing wrong with it. It was just really like, drive around me. Who do you think you are? I was here first. This is my manor. Real attitude on it, this pigeon. I tell you, it's like the king of the pigeons or something. Yeah. Right, I should do Monday's boring objects. I've only been talking for half an hour. I should get on with it really, shouldn't I? Yeah. What have I not talked about though? Because I've done so many of these. Is there a subject that I've not talked about that maybe I could talk about? I'm going to talk about karate. I know I've talked about martial arts and different things I've done, but I want to talk about karate, specifically the karate I did when I was at school and how I ended up doing it. And because I didn't do it for long, only a few years, or 2.5 years or something, but yeah, I'll go through that. Let's do that. I've never really, I don't think I've ever, well, I probably have, but I don't recall going in depth into the karate situation. But saying that, I probably have, but I'll do it again anyway. It'll be different this time. I'll be better. I will. It'll be different this time. It'll work out okay. I've learned from my mistakes. So, I don't actually remember which particular year it was, but I'm guessing I was probably 13. Yeah, 13 would be probably the age where because I was in the Sea Cadets from 11 till about 12 and a half. In fact, before I was 11, and then I left there because I didn't like it. I started doing karate. So basically what happened is I was at school with my friend Stefan, and he was just saying, oh, I'm going tonight, I'm going to go and see the karate, because his brother had started doing karate and loved it. So, and because his brother was so excited, I think it was Paul his name was, because his brother was so excited and enthusiastic and that, Stefan became a little bit interested, because it was his younger brother that was doing it, like a year younger pretty much. So he said, oh, I'm going to go, because it was in a different high school to the one that we were going to. There was 2 high schools in that town. There was nothing at our high school, no kind of sports or anything, I don't think, unless of course there was. I don't think there was. There might have been. No, I think they might have had judo there. I kind of wish I'd done judo as well, but hey. So, and that was on different nights of the week. Because karate was a Tuesday, Thursday, and I think they had judo on Monday and Wednesday. So I said to Stefan, "Oi, Stefan, can I come along?" So all he was going to do is go there and just watch the evening. So his brother was already there. We rolled up. Unless we went, I might have got a lift. I don't even know. I might have got a lift with him, with his family, and got dropped off there, or I might have walked up there with him and his brother. I really am not sure. Or I might have just rolled up on my own and him and his brother was already there. It's a little bit, but he did say it's okay for me to come along. I know technically I could do what I wanted, but you know, it just seems a nice thing to do, just to say, you don't mind if I hang along? Because I didn't. The thing is, right, I wanted to do karate when I was a young kid, when I was younger, when I was like, I asked my dad and he said no, basically. And this is when I was 12, 11. He said no. There was no ifs or buts, like, nope. I don't know why, because he did judo when he was at school. So I don't know why he didn't want me to sort of do martial arts. Anyway, at 13, I just did it. I didn't ask him, I just went along. And so my friend Stefan was there. I still kind of remember it. We sat on these long, do you know those long benches they have in gymnasiums? They're like long seats, like wooden, and maybe people sit on them when they're watching other people performing or whatever, you know, doing football or whatever, I don't know. And sometimes you use them to jump over and stuff. I kind of can, I know what I'm imagining in my head. I just don't know what the correct term is for them. Just benches, probably they call them benches. And they were all stacked up on the, as you go into the door of the gym, because it was the big gym in the school, as you go into the doorway, on the left hand side was all the benches, and the rest of the room, big old room, was used for the karate. So me and Stefan was sitting on the benches watching. But I didn't even know who his brother was. I don't think I'd ever met him before. Even though I'd been to school with Stefan right from junior school. So I'd spent 2 years at junior school, and then, well, what year would it be? 2000 and, no, not 2000, well, 1980, no, 1979. So from 1979 to 1986, I was at school with Stefan. So I knew him that whole time. And I would say I was pretty good friends. We never hung out outside of school, but we always got on really well in school. It's just one of those, you know, things. So anyway, I went along with him. He was one of the toughest kids in the school, or in the year. Well, in fact, I was best friends. Well, I was good friends with two of the toughest kids, Carl and Stefan. They just happened to be. I wasn't friends with them for that reason. They just, one I was friends with because he was also in the, I guess they used to call it the dunces class, which was wrong. They shouldn't have done that. But we were taken out of. Anyone that was disruptive or didn't do what they were supposed to do, or showed no sign of intelligence, probably in my case, was taken out of the normal classes and put into this special room with toys and stuff, and we could just do whatever we wanted for a few hours. And we did do whatever we wanted. I mean, it's probably fair to say that we were going to do whatever we wanted anyway, but we got free rein to do that. And there was probably about, out of the whole year, yeah, because I did it by year, didn't have anyone in other years in there, I don't think, so there's probably, there might have been other people from other years, but this was in the first year. I think it only happened in the first year. So we had probably about, I'm trying to remember the people, me, her, 8, at least 8 people that I can remember. There may have been, so let me see, there was me, there was probably about 8, maybe more of us, 3 girls and 5 boys. 1, 2, I don't know, maybe 4 boys, so there was about 8, maybe a little bit more. And so I got to know these people separately from the rest of the year. And because they were I say they, but they kind of were the biggest troublemakers, technically. They're all okay, actually, but because they didn't go along with what they were supposed to go along with, I suppose they were classed as the rough kids. But they weren't really. They were tough, but they were just kids, just like me. And so I was in that group, so I got to know that. I kind of became part of that group. It's the only group I really became part of, but that was just for the first year, and after that we all kind of separated, but still, knew each other. And I knew them, and some of them I'd known from junior school anyway. What was my point mentioning that? Oh yeah, just there was a point to it, I can't remember. So I went to, anyway, Stefan, I went to the karate club. It was either a Tuesday or a Thursday evening, and I think it was 7 till 9, I think. Or it might have been 7:30 till 9. I don't recall if it was summer or winter, or spring or autumn, I don't know. It wouldn't have been summer because they closed during the summer. When the school was closed, no karate, which meant we would train in a park. We'd all meet up and train in a park and stuff. Also half term, it was always nice to have a break, have a bit of a break from it all. Yeah, so I was there. What was weird is, first of all, I was impressed. I mean, I suppose it's obvious because I went back, but I was really impressed with what I saw. But I also found it funny because there was a really tough kid there who was the toughest kid in the year below us, but he was known for, everyone was kind of, it was like a little Mike Tyson. That's before Mike Tyson was even famous, so he was doing that. It was basically a little bit of a terror. And so this would be in probably the 3rd year of school, so I'd known him for a couple of years or whatever. he was there and he looked silly because he was just starting out, so he didn't know what he was doing. So I was so used to him walking around, flexing his muscles and trying to be a bully boy. And I saw him and he couldn't even punch properly. In karate, I knew he could punch properly because I'd seen him, but he was more of a boxer. But the fact that he was doing that, and it was quite amusing. And there's no reason why he would be any good because he was just starting. And no one's any good when they just start unless they've done it before. But it was quite, I don't know, I found it tickled me a little bit. I didn't tell him because I'm not silly. Anyway, he didn't stick at it. But he went along, he was best friends with Stefan's brother, who was also one of the tough kids. The thing is, with Stefan and his brother, they were tough, but they didn't act tough. They were almost like adults around kids. You know, they just didn't take any rubbish, and they were very physically mature. They were literally like physically adults before most of the other kids were, and they were both big lads. And they had their mentality was also quite adult as well. So they weren't really like kids. Stefan was never like a kid, really. He was also always had his head on his shoulders, always very mature. We used to have a good old laugh, but at the same time he was, very intelligent, as his brother was as well. They knew what they wanted to do, and yeah. I remember once I was in the schoolyard, and the year below, so not the year below me, but the year below him, so the 2 years below, this kid who was the toughest kid in that year, and also one of the toughest kids in the school, again another big one, grew bigger than everyone else and that, he jumped on me and pinned me to the ground. Now this is when me and Stefan's brother, we were doing karate. At this point Stefan had left, so I got to know his brother really well from the karate. So this lad jumped on me and pinned my arms down, and I probably didn't weigh more than 8 stone at the time, if that. He probably weighed about 12, 13 stone, probably. He was a big, strong lad. Yeah, at least 12 stone, at least 4 stone heavier than me. And I didn't know what to do. I mean, because I was in shock, because I didn't know he was going to do it. No one had ever done that to me before, I don't think. Not recently, anyway. And I'm like, oh. And then out of the corner of my eye, well, actually, I was going to say I heard out of the corner of my eye. You can't hear out of your eye, can you? Not even the corner. This voice, and it was Stefan's brother, that I was at karate with. He just shouted out, "Get off him, now." And he did. He just stood up, "Sorry," and ran off. And that was the toughest kid in the whole of his year. But as soon as Paul said, "Get off him," he did. It was weird. It's like, and both of them were younger than me. But I was like a little kid. I was so underdeveloped in a sense. When I left school at 15, I was 8.5 stone. I don't know what that is in pounds or kilos, but I do know what it is roughly in kilos. It's about 50 kilos ish. 16 stone is around 100 kilos. ish. So I was around like, I don't know, 48 kilos, maybe 50 kilos, which, bearing in mind, technically I was an adult, and I was probably the same weight when I was 16, 17. I think I went up to about 9 stone when I was about 18. Like, so I was very light, like really, really super slim, but naturally. Didn't matter whatever I ate, didn't make a difference. I just was slim, just the way it was. And I looked nothing like my dad physically, because my dad's strong, broad, big bloke. Always was. But then in older age, once I hit 30, I kind of almost grew into my father. And now I got the same shaped body as him. It's weird, isn't it? I don't quite sure how. It's like it was always there, it just didn't. It like the bones were there, but there was no fat. I didn't have any fat on me at all when I was in my 20s, which is probably a good thing. My BMI was probably like minus, zero fat. And then 30. Yeah, well, that's a whole new ball game. Yeah. Anyway, so that was weird. So I went there the very, very first night of karate. I fell in love with the place. I fell in love with everything about it. Bearing in mind, I've loved martial arts since I was a little kid. From the age of 7, having that picture of Bruce Lee on my wall in my little room, my very first room I ever had of my own, and a picture of Bruce Lee from Enter the Dragon. From that moment on, when I had to discover who he was, and I loved martial arts, and Kung Fu, the TV show, was on. I mean, that was probably the closest thing I really got to see martial arts at that time. And there was very little Kung Fu in it, but when it was in it, it was the most exciting thing in the world. I loved it, absolutely loved it. So I kind of just, this was like, I'm home, baby. But at the same time, I was nervous because it was new. But I was less nervous because I was with Stefan and he was joining with me. So I was kind of okay with that because I wasn't on my own. So we both went back the next. If it was a Tuesday that we went, then we both went back on a Thursday night. If it was a Thursday night that we went to watch, then we both went back on the following Tuesday night. And we just had some tracksuit bottoms and a t-shirt, because they don't give you don't get a gi straight away. You kind of see how you get on, and if you do like it, then you pay. We paid, Paul was his name, the sensei, the teacher. He got the gis, and it cost like 20 quid or 15 quid or 12 quid. I don't know how much it was back then. And there'd be a white belt and a gi, which was a white like white trousers and a white top made of like flannel kind of material, I think. It might not be flannel, but it was white. And I do actually have a picture of myself in my gi, my karate costume, from when I was, 14. It's in a photograph album that my dad and stepmum put together few years back, just before, about 2022. And there's a picture of me. I might have even had my nunchucks on me, possibly. Wow. So it's strange. There's also a picture of me in my Sea Cadet costume as well. So that's kind of. I think my dad was. He liked me being in the Sea Cadets. I don't think he was interested in me being in karate. It didn't really suit what he wanted for me. I don't quite know why, actually. Even as an adult, when I told him I've started doing kung fu or boxing or what did I do? I can't even remember what I've done. What did I do? Another thing I do, like, it's gone out of my head now, but I've done a few different like martial arts and stuff. And every time I told him, he's like, "Oh, what are you doing that for? Can't you find something else a bit less violent?" Like, it's not violent. It's just fun. Kicking and punching it's a sport. It's just controlled. And although I can't do it anymore, I can't do the kicking. Taekwondo, that's what I was trying to think of. That's the last thing I did. Although I did try and give jiu-jitsu a go, I just don't have the bending capacity to do that anymore. It's just not physically up my road anymore, unfortunately. But I still know a few little moves that I can do if needed. So I think, if anything, I'd like to, if I was going to go back to something, boxing. The problem is, because of my age, it's not a problem for me, because I know I can't do all the, like, the super exercisey bit, cardiovascular. I could do some of it, but that's something I kind of have to be careful with. Just take it easy, take it slowly. But punching a bag, or punching someone with holding the mitts up and punching the pads and stuff, is something that would be fun. But unfortunately, like, when I went to the amateur boxing club in about 2009, when I was at university, I went along to the local ABA, which is the Amateur Boxing Association. They let me go. I was pretty much the oldest person there. I was pretty much one of the only adults there. So I didn't like that, actually. I wanted to be around. I'm not bothered that there was kids there, but I'd rather have adults around me, just because I just don't look so silly, because if you've got adults doing martial arts, you don't have people watching, you don't have families watching. But because there's so many kids there, a lot of their parents were sitting in the sidelines watching, and I'm sure they were laughing at me. If they weren't, they should have been. Because I'd have a t-shirt on, and within about 5 minutes, it'd be soaked through. I lost a bit of weight doing it. I did put on some muscle and that, but I just absolutely soaked. But I enjoyed it, but I kept injuring myself. They wouldn't let me spar. That's the thing that kind of annoyed me a little bit. And I understand, of course, I'm not going to spar a little kid, but a lot of those kids, especially some of them were as big as I was, or tall-wise anyway, they would have just boxed my head off. I wouldn't have stood a chance, because they would have just outboxed me. I wouldn't be able to catch them. But even because I was too old, I wasn't allowed legally for them to be sparring. And I'd have been okay just to stand there and not do anything, just move around the ring and block the punches if I could, and not throw any punches, just to sort of be a target almost. That would have been fun for me. But they didn't even do that. I mean, that's quite a good opportunity, isn't it, to have someone running, jumping around? Because there was some lads there that were much bigger than me, like 6'2", 6'3". I'm 5'8". So, you know, technically, and they had sort of young, sort of late teens that were, you know, really, well, adults really. So I could have happily just got in the ring with them and danced around a little bit and tried to avoid them punching me. I'm not saying I wanted to be a punch bag, but it would have been a bit of fun. I don't know, just stuff. But they wouldn't let me. And that's really, I mean, I think if anyone goes to boxing, anyone starts boxing, I think they're probably telling fibs if they say that they don't care whether or not they get to spar. I think most people that go to boxing want to spar. It's kind of the point of the whole thing, is being able to put it into action in a safe environment. And I didn't get a chance. Mind you, I did do boxing when I was at school I think I went once or twice, and they didn't have any rules. There was like a few sit-ups, few press-ups, go on the punch bag, and then start sparring with each other. And I ended up with this, bearing in mind I was like quite little, I ended up with someone that was probably a good 6 foot, 6'2", and twice my height, twice my weight rather. And he just kept punching me in the head. Like, I couldn't, like, can you stop punching me, please? Which, of course, you can't really say when it comes down to boxing. Please stop that. Can you just stop, give me a chance, let me punch you? Because he wouldn't. So it put me off a little bit. Why did you stop doing boxing? Because he kept punching me. Yeah, pretty much. So I can't remember the first time I went to karate, as in the first lesson. But I know that I went every single Tuesday and Thursday. I had a paper round. I think I had an early morning paper round at this point. So that's what paid for the karate. And a few standout moments of going to that karate club during those years. The first thing is, every single grading I attended, I got a first class pass. That isn't the highest. You can skip a grade. That's what Stefan's brother, because we both had our first we both had our first grading at the same time, because he had literally just started, I think, the week before I did, and he skipped right away through to the next belt because he was so good straight away. But I did get a first class pass, so that was okay. The weird thing about it, though, because I did I think 2, possibly 3 competitions, and I didn't win. I didn't win any awards or any prizes, but I did win a couple of fights. Like Stefan's brother, he was, bearing in mind he was 14, so he was younger than me, so 13, let's say. He's 13 years old. They put him in with another 13-year-old. The size difference was ridiculous. And the other kid just started crying. And there was a lot of whatever about it. parents saying, what have you put my kid in with an adult for, and all this stuff. And they said, well, he's not an adult, he's 13. He can't be 13, he's bigger than me. And there was all that, but he was 13. I think it's a little, they should have weight categories. They were just doing it by age. But with adults, they do it by weight. With the kids, they were just doing it by age. That was a little bit, didn't really seem very fair to put someone who probably weighed, well, this 13-year-old, it was about my size, because I was about the size of a 13-year-old, so it was about my size, so he's a lot littler than this other kid, who was probably, at that time, 12 stone, if not more. So yeah, he won his category, but there was a lot of gnashing of teeth. He won a trophy. He was just naturally good. He took to it so quickly. It was very, very good. Stefan, he stayed for a while and then he stopped going. I don't think he just didn't want to do it anymore. He'd lost interest, which was, I was still friends with him. But I liked it when he was coming, because during break times we would practice doing karate with each other, going down the hallway. And the good thing about it is, if I'd have done that with anyone else, I would have had other lads coming up to me and give me a hard time, because I was doing it with one of the toughest kids in the school and the toughest kid in the year. No one gave us a hard time, so it was quite cool. So we were like kicking each other and blocking and running around, and it was brilliant. And then he stopped going. Something about me embarrassing him or something, I don't know. So, but we're still friends. It's just he didn't want to go anymore, so I continued, because I loved karate. It was my life. Within a week, it was my entire life. There was nothing more important than karate to me in the entire world. Everything else was just in the background, a bit of a blur. And it was my new special interest above everything else. My previous special interest was, I was very, very into, this is going to sound a bit weird, bearing in mind I was like 11. I never liked the Sea Cadets. I just went there when I was 10, because I was there before, I wasn't even old enough to be there, but they let me go along, because there was only a couple of months before my 11th birthday. And I just didn't want to go home. I just wanted to go somewhere else. So me and my friend went there and we joined up, and it was just nice to... I was never really particularly good at fitting in, and I think when you join a group, even if you don't fit in, you are still part of the group. So you might be like an oddball in the group, or me, let's say me, I'll talk about myself. I was an oddball in the Sea Cadets, but I was still one of them. I still wore the Sea Cadet uniform. Yeah, that motorbike. It's in the garden just behind us. Way too late. Was it nearly 9 o'clock? It's 9:15. A motorbike. I never used to be this moany, I didn't. So I think that's part of the reason, another reason I didn't like it, but I felt a part of something when I was in the Sea Cadets, as I did when I joined the karate club. I preferred the karate club membership side of it, because I was around adults as well as kids, and I respected all of the adults, well, apart from one, who he wasn't. I mean, he was an adult. He was probably 18, but he was a bit of a div, really. That's a nice word for him. He used to try and bully me when we were sparring. He'd kick me, and he was like a good 6'5", like really tall, and he was a brown belt, so he got his black belt as well. So he was really good at what he did. He was one of the top karate people in there, but for some reason he enjoyed kicking me over on the floor, and I got a bit fed up with it, so I just I started hurting him. And I said, "Oh, what do you mean you hurt him?" I mean, he was so big. So the good thing about it is I could punch him in the stomach and accidentally miss his stomach, and he'd be on the floor. So I did that a few times, or I'd hurt his leg, and he started to kind of back down a little bit with me. He didn't sort of take so many liberties, as it were. But he seemed to really enjoy just tripping me up and kicking me over, and no one else did that. It was the only person that did it. Everyone else treated me with respect, including the adults. They always, like, the instructor, he seemed to really like me, and he'd push me, but he would never ever hurt me. Let's face it, he could in a second have hurt me, but he didn't. And I respected that, because that's kind of what I think the other lad should have done, because he was an adult compared to me. It was 18, so technically I suppose he was an adult. He was in sixth form college, I think, or maybe left sixth form college, I don't know. But he was just, yeah. But I don't think he did it with anyone else. I don't know. Maybe he fancied me, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it was his way of flirting. But yeah, as a few low punches, and that kind of sorted that out. I say a few, quite a few. Oh, I did it again. Sorry. A few standout moments, nice memories would be when one of the older men, I say older, it was old to me, probably in his 20s, to be fair. It's probably, 20, in his 20s. I thought he was like old. Maybe he was late 20s. He was getting married, and he asked me and another of the young ones like me to go to his wedding in our gis, our karate uniforms, and stand as they walked out of the church after getting married. So we were standing outside. They had a cameraman filming, or taking pictures or whatever, as the newly married couple came out, and me and another lad were holding swords above, basically at the entrance or the exit of the church, just high enough so they could just walk through, of course. And I found it funny, because I was thought, oh, if I slip, cut his head off, that'd be funny. It won't go down very well, but it didn't happen. Clearly, otherwise I probably wouldn't. My whole life would have been different, wouldn't it? But how amazing. I'd love to see that picture. I never got to see the picture. Unless I did and I've forgotten I got to see it. How cool is that? It got to just be I mean, how many people get married and walk out to two people holding swords? I mean, I suppose the royal family do, but yeah, it was really cool. And it was also cool that he asked me. And the other lad, I forget who it was. but just like out of all of us, I got to do it. So cool, honestly, it was brilliant. And I think I used to go up to the karate contests with him, so I suppose he got to know me a little bit. What else? I used to love the sparring. Apart from with that, the big lanky 6'9" bully boy, I didn't enjoy that. But everyone else I enjoyed sparring with. It was fun. I loved the sparring. That was kind of the whole point, really, is to practice what you're learning. It's practice the blocking and the kicking and the punching, the sweeping and all that stuff. And we sparred every single time. So half the night or half the evening was based on practicing drills, not drills as in not that kind of drill. Practicing the form, practicing kicks, punches, stuff like that. And then the next part of the evening was sparring. So we'd all stand up in a line, facing each other. So that if there was, let's say, if there's 20 of us, there'd be one line of 10 people all facing each other. And then they would spar with that person. We'd have pads on our hands, pads on our feet. Didn't have any pads on my head. Didn't have a gum shield or anything like that. Oh yeah, pads on the groin. I probably didn't really need it, but I had it anyway. But if you get a good old punch, it doesn't stop it, as I found out. When I did the punch, that is. And it was so much fun. Just punching and kicking each other. It was great. And the thing is, I could hardly reach anyone's head anyway, because everyone was taller than me, apart from those that weren't. And they generally were a fair bit younger. Because I started I think you could start at 12 in the karate club. That was their limit. That was their oldest, was 12. So I remember the sparring, that was great. Which brings me on to my next thing of the most... I actually changed the karate club. And I'm never going to be remembered for it. That's the funny thing about it. But I changed the direction of that club. Because my little brother was... This would be 85. So he would have been 7. My little brother was interested in doing karate. And I kept asking if he could come along. And Paul, the instructor, said no, not till he's 12. Can't do it. Won't do it. Can't do it. Won't do it. And then I said to him one night, I said, well, why don't we do a separate one, like on a Saturday, like a completely separate thing. You can have come in on a Saturday and have like an extra sparring session for the adults, but allow some kids to come along under the age of 12. You can have a limit, maybe no one under 5 or something. And eventually I'm not saying I was hassling it every day. I wasn't phoning him up in the middle of the night. Yeah, it's me again. Please, come on, little brother. Come on, please. Just the kids, please. So eventually he gave up and he said, okay, we'll try it. So, he gave up his own time to come in. And I don't know if they even charged the kids. So we came in on a Saturday. And he got me to teach the kids. Because it was just basically teaching them a little bit discipline to line up how to kick, how to punch. None of it was like hard stuff. It was very basic stuff. So he got me to teach him, and it went from there. So that's where it started, and then they progressed to doing it on having like a separate group on a Tuesday and a Thursday night at the back of the gym. So they wouldn't be part of the main thing, but they'd be taught by like me, and then when I left, someone else taught. And so it went from that, doing it every Saturday morning, to then including it on a Tuesday and a Thursday evening. And that was how many years ago is that? 40 years ago. And the amount of black belts that have come out of those kids, they still do it now. Still got little kids training. Not the same little kids, but they've still got little kids training. So that was my idea. And it might be the greatest thing I've ever done in my life, which is kind of sad maybe. But it was my idea, because I wanted my little brother to come along and do karate. And because I'd already taught him some karate, which came in handy because a little local bully started on him, and he sorted the bully out. And it set him up for the rest of his school, because he had confidence and he knew that he could deal with, situations like that. And my little brother lost interest. He went for probably 2 months, 3 months, I don't know how long. He got his first grading, I know that. So he must have been there for at least 3 months, because the gradings were every 3 months. So he got his yellow belt. He might have been there 6 months, but then he left. He lost interest. But they kept the thing going, because by then they had more kids joining. It started off, I think I kind of got some of the neighbours' kids to come along, and it started off with maybe 3 kids, and then it grew to 5, and then there was 7, and then there was 10, and 10's all you need, really. It's a good number. And then it grew, and it just continued from 1985 to today. So tomorrow evening, Tuesday evening, pretty much guaranteed that someone will walk into that gym, a kid, maybe 10 years old, for example, 9 years old, will walk in there for the first time with their parents or older brother or sister or whatever, and will, learn to start, kicking and punching for the first time. And by the time they leave school, they'll be a black belt. And that's all thanks to me. I'm responsible for the success of every single black belt ever. No, that's not what I'm saying. But it was quite a nice memory, quite a nice thing, a positive thing that I probably created. Because it wasn't allowed. Not allowed. But in the end he gave up, and he said okay, because I kept going on about it. And he clearly the instructor must have liked me, because he didn't tell me to stop hassling him. Or he might have done actually, but I just didn't give up. I was quite insistent, because I wanted my little brother to go. I think, if I'm honest, I probably didn't care about the other kids. I was just focusing on my little brother. But because there had to be other kids as well, I kind of got a few other kids from the neighbourhood to go along. Some of his friends probably, thinking about it, yeah, I think it was. And maybe some of the kids of the the adults that were going there, they brought them along just to kind of support that new venture. Yeah, groovy. So I'm not going to remember. I won't be remembered for it. I bet you not one person remembers me, ever. Not even Paul, who was my hero. He was the instructor. He won't remember me. I mean, last time I saw him was probably about 1987, and he said, "When are you coming back?" I said, "Soon." Never did. Never went back. Yeah, that's weird. I mean, it's when I left school, I was working in the evenings, and I'd lost interest anyway at that point in everything. I had no interest in anything. So karate was gone, everything. I was just working in a chip shop. And that's it. That's what I did for 2 years. There was nothing really else going on in my life. And what else? So, with the karate, I have nice memories of getting together equipment. So, I had I got some gym stuff, like, weights. And my dad had this big studio thing at the bottom of the garden, which was his office because he was self-employed. So it was his office, but he also kept his equipment in part of it as well. And there was a toilet down there, and I think it was just his safe space, probably, to be on his own, have a bit of peace and quiet from all of us. But what he took a bit of interest in what I was doing, because he let me put my weights down there. So I was buying weights bit by bit. So I was buying a barbell one week, then I was buying the weights to put on the barbell. Then I got a curl bar, put some weights for the curl bar, got some dumbbells, a little dumbbell set, and then I got another dumbbell set, to sort of match it. I can't think of any other things weights-wise that I had. But I had like a varied weight collection. And then I told my dad that I wanted to get a punch bag. So what he did is he found me a kit bag and he filled it with sawdust. So it's really heavy. Really heavy. And he attached it to the ceiling. And then I got another punch bag, which was already, I think it was full of, we put just cloth in it. So I had a light bag and a really heavy bag. I imagine the one full of sawdust was probably as heavy as me, nearly anyway. It was pretty sturdy stuff. And a kit bag, if you don't know what that is, it's the kind of thing that people in the forces used to use. And it's a big long thing, and they would just basically have all their belongings in it. But it didn't have handles for some reason, or maybe the handles had fallen off, but it was just like a big punch bag. I'm thinking it might have belonged to my granddad, because he used to be a boxer, and I think I might have had my granddad's boxing gloves. But I did buy some boxing gloves as well, and some bag gloves. But I also like to punch without any gloves on as well. So, So my dad helped me put all that stuff up. So that was nice. I got real happy memories of practicing karate in the garden. I say happy memories, but they're very vague memories. But I do remember I used to practice my kicks and my punches and my forms. That's when it's a sequence of different moves. Some people call it the kata, some people call it form. But it's just like practicing kicks and punches and blocks and stuff. So, and in the evenings, I used to go and really really go on that punch bag, proper, the heavy one, more than anything. And I loved it. I just really loved it. Especially if one of my brothers was annoying me, I'd go down the garden and just punch the bag, as it were. And yeah, it was useful, really useful. Yeah, I like that punch bag. The one that was heavy, like that. The heavier the better. Like a big, big, heavy punch bag. That's kind of the perfect thing. You know, something that doesn't even move when you punch it. That's like perfect. Don't want something to start moving and swaying around. No, something really heavy. Like 20 stone or something. That'd be nice. Although my ceiling wouldn't take that. I do have a punch bag in my bedroom, but it's one that's on a. It's got a water base with water. You can put concrete or sand in there, but I just put water in, so I can punch it. It does move around, and I just feel a little bit self-conscious that I'm gonna disrupt my neighbour downstairs because they're gonna hear it. How could they not hear it? It's quite loud, you know what I mean? So, ooh, 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 ooh. Trying to think of some other. Yeah, in the summers we used to. Well, it wasn't that many summers, was it? But I remember one summer we met up in this park around the corner from where I lived, and we'd run around, and then we'd spar and stuff. It was brilliant. It wouldn't be something that I would do myself. I wouldn't go to a park and start practicing karate. But when you've got a bunch of black belts with you, adults, it's kind of, you can do what you want, really. So it was nice. I'm trying to think other moments of the karate. Getting my gradings was nice. Getting my first class gradings and getting the new belt, that was always good. Feeling part of something that for the first time I was quite good at. I'm not saying I was, but for the first time I felt I wasn't really bad at something. Because previous to that I'd been in the Sea Cadets, and it took me over 2 years to get my first badge, and most people get it within 2 or 3 months. And every Friday or every other Friday they would read out who's got the next badge. Sometimes people would get it in a month or 6 weeks, and I got passed over every single time. It got to the point where I was a laughingstock. They'd actually read out and not Newland, and it became a joke, like a running joke, that I didn't get promoted. I was like at the lowest level for the whole time, pretty much. And then one night they read my name out, and the whole place erupted, because it was such a build-up over a long period of time. The fact that I finally got my first, was it junior seaman or something, I forget, the first badge, and I think I got demoted the next week, but I still had it for a little while. I was always getting in trouble, always in trouble at school, in trouble at the Sea Cadets, because I wasn't good with, wasn't a big fan of people telling me what to do, really. And it was weird. It's kind of such a weird thing, because my dad wouldn't let me leave the Sea Cadets. Because there was a point where when I first got there, I found it funny because they'd be shouting at me. And I find it funny because I knew that I could just walk out and I didn't have to do it. You know, it was a choice. And then when I said I wanted to leave, I was told no. And I got some weird man, adult, shouting in my face. I was like, okay, I can't, this is not funny anymore. So, yeah, I left. My first opportunity I got out of there. And there was a family thing, a little family adventure between the parents, and that gave me the opportunity to get out of the Sea Cadets. And then I started doing karate. So yeah, loved karate so much. And I remember I used to buy stuff. And I had the gym stuff, the bags, punch bags, the weights. But I also had martial arts weapons as well. Because next to where I used to do my grading, which was in the next town, they had a martial arts shop next to the karate centre, the club. Because our club was just in a gym. They actually had a purpose-built club. So I used to go into the martial arts shop and I'd buy Bruce Lee magazines, nunchucks, throwing stars, stuff like that. Or I'd buy them, I was going to say I'd buy them online, but obviously can't do that. But there used to be, like with the martial arts magazines, I don't even remember what it's called, probably Martial Arts Monthly or something. And you could order stuff through the post. So that's what I would do from these martial arts shops in London. So I got some nunchucks. I might have had 2 pairs of nunchucks. I also had a plastic pair of nunchucks, which is good for practicing. Multiple throwing stars, which I used to play with in the garden. Which is weird, because probably not a good idea to let a kid play with throwing stars. And what else did I have? I think it was mainly books. So I had books on different kung fu styles, teaching different kung fu moves, and I used to practice all that stuff. Exercise books, martial art exercises to help strengthen the body, and yeah, I had lots of stuff like that I used to buy. And the regular monthly, or weekly kung fu martial art magazines, karate monthly. I was also got into boxing as well, kind of a little bit later than that, but I started buying KO, which is Knockout Monthly, I think. And it kind of led me towards the fitness side of things. I got into bodybuilding. It never worked with me because my body would not build. But I got interested in it and started to learn all about bodybuilding, diet. Because I was into going to the gym. Because there's a gym around the corner, so I used to go there as well. And the thing is, when I was 15, I had a really good body, but no one knew I had a good body because I was so little. Now, it might sound like a weird statement. I kind of looked, I was very muscular, but I was little. It's hard to explain. So, because I'm not explaining it very well. When I started working at a chip shop, I remember my boss laughing at me. I was 15, and I said, I got muscles, and he started laughing. So I pulled my top off, not my sleeve up, and showed him. And he's like, oh wow. So I had muscles, I had biceps, because I'd been working out for a couple of years. I'm not saying that they were big, but they were firm, firm muscles. Chest, I had 6-pack and all that stuff. I was just one big, very sinewy muscle though, because I was so little, so light, and not particularly strong either, but no fat on me at all. But I never used to walk around with top off or anything, because if I had it done, people might have thought that I looked okay. But I was embarrassed with how slim I was, so I never did that. It's a strange one, really. So yeah, I used to love doing it. I used to love sort of having the magazines and the books. That's always seems to be how I do things or have done things over the years. When I get a special interest, so before it used to be, before karate, it was really interested in like werewolves and vampires and that kind of stuff. I just got really interested in it. It just became something that I was passionate about. And I'd go to the library on my days off at the weekend, on a Saturday, and I'd study, look through these big textbooks and encyclopedias and copy stuff down, and I learned so much about it. There was no reason for it other than I just became interested, and I learned more than I needed to about the subject, and I started buying books about it, and learned quite a lot about all that whole thing. And then I got obsessed with karate. Yeah, so that was when I was about 11, 12, sort of same time possibly as the Sea Cadets, but I had no interest in the Sea Cadets. Didn't even like it. I had a laugh when I was there, but didn't enjoy being there, really. To start with, it was a nice relief from being at home, and then it became a chore. And then once I did karate, that was nice because I was out of the house, but I was also doing something that I enjoyed. And for the first time in my childhood, I had something to look forward to, which was going to karate. And that's all I talked about to anyone. Didn't talk about anything else, just karate. Seriously, must have been really boring for people. I mean, you're probably going to get an idea of how boring it is because you've just listened to me talking about it for the last hour and a half or so. But I love the karate. I'm just trying to think, is there any other aspects of karate that I remember that stand out? So my little brother going. No. Oh, I tell you what I did do. There's one of the black belts, the young black belts in the karate club. He left to start his own club on a Friday night somewhere else, and I basically talked him into having kids go straight away, as well as adults. So I got my little brother to go, and he was 7. So his club started off with little kids straight away, and adults. I don't think he continued in that town, but he might have moved somewhere else and did it. But he was a really cool. He was a cool dude. Cool dude. He was about 18, 19, and he was just the kind of person I'd want to be, the kind of person I'd still want to be now, and never was, never could be, never will be. He just almost like the perfect person. He had everything. Well, I say obviously he didn't have everything, but from the outside it looked like he had everything. You know, he was clearly very tough. He was brilliant at karate. He was a good-looking bloke. He was great personality, extremely confident. But it's hard not to be confident, I think. If you're a black belt when you're a teenager, you're going to have confidence there, aren't you? So that's the one thing I would say to any parent that's got a kid. Get them down to some kind of martial arts, because the confidence that comes from it is pretty cool. Whether it's karate, judo, jiu-jitsu, whatever, it's just something, so you know that they can take care of themselves. But more than that, it's people that are confident quite often never ever need to use it. The higher they get in the training, the less chance they're ever going to need to use it, because it's almost like an aura comes off them. The confidence, maybe. Now, I know people that have done martial arts for decades and never ever had to use it. Yeah, man. What else? What else? What else? What else? Because I'm only talking about karate, so I'm not talking about any of the other martial arts I've done. So just about the karate when I was at school. I'm trying to think of anything else that happened there in that environment. No, I can't think of anything now. That's pretty much it. Yeah. I mean, I quite like getting to know a few adults, because I tell you, okay, one of the things I liked about the karate club, I got to know some adults that I didn't know any adults other than, I suppose, friends of the family and teachers, and I didn't want to know them. So I got to know a few adults that I could say hello to, and I was getting to the point of leaving school anyway. I was 14, left school at 15. And yeah, that was quite cool. Kind of go around, and had a neighbour, and I'd go around his and would train together sometimes, because he was also doing judo. And another good thing is I made some new friends, and there was this rivalry between the two high schools, and there was less rivalry for me, because everything I did from the age of 11 to leaving school, I did with people from the other school as well. So in the Sea Cadets, probably half of the kids in the Sea Cadets were from the other school, as well as my school. So I knew them. And then when I did karate, the karate club was actually at the other school, and so there was more kids from that school than there was from my own school. So I got to know them. So it was kind of quite good, because then that rivalry wasn't there for me. I got to meet different people from both the schools, and there wasn't so much of that, like them and us, when it came to me. Yeah, I liked that. It was nice. Yeah, I made a few friends that I used to hang out with. There was one friend, I thought he was a girl when he first started, and there was a boy, and his mum was also there, and yeah, I just ended up hanging around with him for a little bit. He was probably about a year younger than me, I think. But his mum was really cool, and I'd go around and she'd give me dinner and stuff. Trying to think what else. Yeah, I didn't have any friends at my school that did karate, other than Stefan's brother. I think nearly everyone else that went to karate with me was from the other school, which is, for some reason, I don't know why that was. I suppose it's sort of, I guess if you've got karate in your school, you're more likely to go there. But yeah, so I mean, there was a couple. There was two, three, and me. So there's about four of us were actually from my school, and everyone else was from the school it was in, other than, you know, the kids, rather the adults. So there was probably, I'd say, 10% adults, like adults. Maybe 20% adults. So people in their 20s plus, and then maybe 20% of older teens, you know, like maybe 17 to 20, kind of. And then maybe, I don't know, I would say the majority was yeah, I'd say probably 13 or 12, 13 to 16. That seemed to be the main age group, but there was a few older and a few even older than that when I started. And then when I left, there was probably another 10% of under 11 or under 12, whatever the former age limit was, until my pestering opened the gates for kids to go along, like really young kids, like my little brother. Yeah, I never realised that was the proudest moment of my life until this moment. It's the only thing I've done in my whole life. I'll tell you what's weird is it's now starting to get dark. It's nearly 10 o'clock. So it's 9:56. And it's dark inside. Not like dark, as in like I can't see anything dark. But it's still light outside. It's not light, so you can see everything. But it's light enough to go out and not need a torch, if that makes sense. And what's weird is this is now the time, even though this is technically probably the peak of the summer, like beginning of July, or maybe June is, but you know, roughly this is kind of the peak time. Last week was very hot, this coming week's supposed to be very hot, but now we've already had the longest day, so it's starting to get darker earlier and get lighter later. And it's only maybe, I don't know, a few minutes a week. But it's really weird how quickly it starts to get darker, because in a month's time it'll be completely pitch black by now at 10 o'clock. And then in September it'll be dark probably by 8 o'clock, if not earlier, possibly 7 o'clock. And then by November, December, it's just dark all the time. It feels like it sometimes. Like it never... There are days when it just doesn't seem to get much brighter than this, how it is now. I mean, it's this kind of light at 3 in the afternoon sometimes in December. Especially on like a cloudy day. You know, I have to have the light on and look outside. It's just, yeah, weird. Dark at 4 in the afternoon. In January. So we're not there yet, but it's kind of weird that this is the kind of the peak of the summer. It's a bit windy today. Someone's put a brick in front of the gate that keeps slamming shut. So I'm guessing someone's been a little bit mildly annoyed by it. So that was a good idea. I'm surprised someone hasn't moved it. There's always like one person wants one thing and then another person wants another thing. So someone wants it left open, another person wants it left closed. It's like, just leave it be, man. Just chill out. Chill out and just enjoy all the chocolate. That's what my nan used to say. That's before the diabetes, but... I can't think of any other things connected to karate that I can talk about. I can't... You'd think there'd be something else, wouldn't you? What else? What else? What else? What else? Karate. Oh, the Karate Kid. I remember watching that, and it was... I think it's the first time I was in tune with what was going on. Like, the Karate Kid was so popular in the Western world, and loads of people wanted to do karate because they wanted to be a karate man. And I think at that time I was already doing it. So I think the Karate Kid was 85. So I was already a Karate Kid before the Karate Kid came out. It's like, yay! I was ahead of the curve. Ahead of the curve. Which is cool. But it was a dream I'd had for years. You know, ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to do martial arts. I wanted to be Kung Fu from a TV show, Kung Fu. I mean, technically his name was Kane, but, you know, that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be not just being able to do the moves, but also to be calm and peaceful and not react. Because he was so calm and he did what he needed to do, but he didn't overreact to people trying to, you know, get him agitated. I never learnt that bit. That's the bit I never learnt. I kind of learnt it now. It's taken me a little while. I'm better than I used to be. Yeah, but I like the spiritual side of it as well. And I guess I found that with maybe Buddhism when I was older, reading Buddhism when I was in my 20s and studying it. Taoism as well, and as well as, what's the other thing? I forget. And that's it really. That was my little karate career when I was at school. As I got older, like moving towards leaving school, I started if you can hear that, someone's doing it in the garden. I started kind of going out and doing stuff and kind of moved away from it a bit, but that's kind of standard, I think. Sounds like the motorbike's gone now. What a silly time to be riding a motorbike in a garden. 3 minutes past 10 in the evening. My goodness. So I started to move away from it. Started to do things with my friends, go to the cinema, hang out, do things instead of going to karate. This was just pretty much just before I left school, and then after I left school, that was kind of it. Because I was working in a chip shop. For some reason, I chose a job which didn't allow me to continue doing karate. Possibly wasn't the best career move I ever made, but it's what I did, and I can't change that, so there you go. But I'm glad I did the karate. I'm glad I did that at school. I wish I'd started earlier, but then I wasn't allowed to, so hey. I also wish I'd done boxing. The thing is, boxing was in a different town, so I did go, because I had a friend that went, but it was it was expensive, the bus, I was getting home late, and it just wasn't really practical. So I didn't go. I sort of stopped going. I did a bit of kickboxing before I did the karate as well. That was with a neighbour opposite who was in the American forces, and the kid next door to me wanted to teach him kickboxing, but needed someone else to teach him with. He needed an opponent, someone to spar with. So the kid asked me if I'd come along, so I did. They'd been my next door neighbour for a few years. The thing I didn't like about that is a couple of things. First, I didn't like the stretching. I'd never stretched before. It was not fun, and I felt it for days afterwards. I know we still did stretching in karate, but it was stretching in the kickboxing, it was really full on. And the other thing I didn't like is, that I didn't really appreciate, was the man teaching us was, it was only two of us training, and so he taught us the basic punches, kicks and stuff, and then he got us sparring. But he was shouting in like support of the other kid, not me. I didn't like that. It bugged me. Still bugs me today. It's just like, what are you doing? You can't invite two kids to come along and train them and then side with one over the other. Especially as neither of us we were just neighbours. He'd known us all the same length of time. He knew my parents, the bloke, he knew the parents next door. So it's very strange. I knew his son, because his son was. Yeah, I used to go up in there, and I used to hang around with his son sometimes. So I'd been in his house a few times, so he knew me. So I don't know, but decide. Maybe that's why, because he kind of got to know me a bit, and he thought, try and teach the other kid to win. But neither of us won, because we were both the same size, because he was younger than me. Both pretty much the same size. That's why I was picked to do it. Probably the same kind of strength level, and we couldn't hurt each other. If we tried, we couldn't. It was just, we were padded up, really properly padded up. Like body, legs, feet, hands, maybe even elbows and head. So it's almost like it's, yeah. It'd be a little bit like getting a little glass thimble, wrapping it up in bubble wrap, like a whole 200-foot bit of bubble wrap, and tying that all together, all around, and then covering it in foam. So the ball's probably about, the size of a house, and then just dropping it 2 inches. You're not you're not going to make any difference to the little glass thimble, or the little tiny little glass thing. It's not going to break because it's so protected. That's a little bit like what we were like with all the padding on. That seemed like a good analogy until I started, and I realised it was going on a bit too far. And I also thought, I'm saying glass thimble. Does anyone know what I mean when I say glass thimble? And I'll explain what I meant is because you can get metal thimbles. That's basically what people use when they do sewing, because they use it to push the needle through the cotton or whatever. So it just protects the thumb. But you can also get glass ones, or at least you used to be able to, and they had little dents in them so that it would catch the needle, the end of the needle, as you pushed it in. So yeah. Anyway, just thought I'd explain that. So this brings me to the end of the recording again. La 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 la. So thank you for listening. Remember to be kind to yourself, because you do deserve to feel happy. And be gentle with yourself. You deserve to feel safe. Lots of love. Bye. Bye bye.